Well, welcome back. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in with us again at a Midweek Pump. We are so excited to have our next guest. He's had such an extensive, full life, you know, from the nightlife entertainment industry to such a switch today. And this gentleman is a serial entrepreneur, a life coach. He is the host of the Live Experience and many, many more things that I can't even list myself because he's been so involved with an extensive, full life that I had to have him come here today and speak to us to let us know what he's up to. What are you up to today that people are still wondering in awe? Oh my gosh, like what is Zark doing? So I introduce to you Zark Fatah.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I know I could not list everything that you've been involved in. So please share with us a little bit about some of the businesses that you've had under your belt.
Okay. Well, in 1999, we'll go way back. My partner,
going through a timeline here.
Well, I'll give you the timeline. Yeah, my partner Ralph and I, we created a promotion company, and we were very involved in the Toronto nightlife scene, hosting 4 or 5 parties a week for about 5 or 6 years until we opened our first venue on King Street called Century Room. That opened in 2004. In 2003, I opened Blowfish Restaurant. That was open for 15 years.
Very cool.
We had Maisel Mercer, Hammam Spa, Portland Variety, Atelier. So over 15 years, I opened 12 companies, which included Digital Dreams, a music festival. We created Over Easy, a natural hangover prevention supplement. So had my hands in a lot of different projects during my career in entertainment, nightlife, and hospitality.
Now, guys, if you did not attend any of those venues or those events, you might have not been with the cool kids. Just letting you know a little bit, right?
Did you go to Digital Dreams?
Oh, I think I went to everything that he mentioned. So Zark and I have known each other for quite a few years, and yes, we've bumped into each other in a lot of those events and parties and venues. So,
as you were listing, I was literally like, check,
right? Like, it's been such a great nightlife that we did have in Toronto.
Nostalgic.
And I know it doesn't just, you know, encompass Toronto. You've had quite an extensive life, even outside of Toronto, you know, in Miami.
Yeah. So I was a bartender before a promoter, and I went down to Miami for New Year's in 1997, and I decided I'm not going home. So I spent 2 years working down in Miami as a bartender.
I'm sure we've all had those thoughts.
Yeah, and that was a life-changing, let's say a TSN turning point for me, I guess, where I just discovered nightlife in a whole new way. And that's really what inspired me to come back to Toronto and start throwing parties because of what I saw in Miami. So, and during our promotional career and throughout nightlife, during our events, we'd host parties in LA for Coachella. We'd host parties, I hosted a birthday party in south of France one year. So we would do events all over, and it was a fun, dynamic, exciting life for many, many years. Yeah.
I think if you knew Zark back in the day, in those years, you would look at his profile, his Instagram, or even, you know, back in the day, the websites where you had to wait for photos to get uploaded to nightlife media, and you were just like, oh, I want to know him. What were those mansion parties, right? So it was quite a full life, for sure.
It's been quite a ride, for sure.
Yeah.
And you know, just like any good roller coaster ride, there's lots of ups and downs and twists and turns, and you know, it's been a beautiful journey for sure.
Amazing.
Well, why don't you tell us like a little bit about where you're at now and how like personal development has come into your life and like where that kind of started for you.
Okay, well, you know, I'm glad you said the whole looking at photos and looking at someone's life, because, you know, from Instagram, you would look at my life previously, as we do, we admire many other people's lives, and think, oh my God, they're living the life, look how lucky they are. And of course, we only ever promote the top 1% of our life, the highlight reel.
Stuff, yeah.
So for me, you know, from the outside, my life looked amazing, and it was in many ways. However, I wasn't really fulfilled. I knew there was something missing. And for me, it was turning 40 and just stopping and asking, okay, am I really happy? Am I living the life that I thought I would be living at 40? And the answer was no. You know, I was not enjoying what I was doing for work anymore. I was still single and not able to create the relationship I'd always wanted. You know, I thought by 40 I'd be married with kids for sure. And I was actually hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So even though I was making a lot of money, I was blowing it faster than I was making it. So I knew something wasn't working, you know, and I was great at creating businesses. I was great at making money. I was just terrible at keeping it. I was great at meeting women. I was just terrible at keeping them.
That's,
So-
you know, that's
We
like,
kind of all have that.
that's the 90% that you don't know behind
Exactly.
the photos,
Yeah.
right?
And you know, so
That's so
I knew
funny.
something had to change because I was like, oh my God, I'm 40. Like a couple of months ago, I was 32. Like what happened here? And I knew like if I don't figure this out, I'm gonna be 50 asking myself these same questions.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I needed to do. I just knew that change was needed. And I didn't know what that change was going to look like. And I was open. I was ready. I was so sick and tired of my own
You got to that
shit.
point.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
You can be completely
Okay.
bold.
Yeah, just be yourself
All right.
here. No
So
sugarcoating.
I was like, okay, I got to figure this one out. And thankfully, a very good friend of mine who I've known for well over 20 years, she invited me for coffee and she said, you know, have you ever considered therapy or coaching? And right away I'm like, what the fuck? What are you trying to tell me? What? And
Right,
she's like,
well-
no. She's like, it's not that something's wrong or it's not that you need fixing. It's that there's something missing. There's something you don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, you're a great boyfriend. You've got a big heart and you're not able to open up and truly receive and give the love that you want.
Yeah.
You're great at creating businesses. You're great at making money, but you're shit at keeping it, you know? And I was like, okay, yeah, you have my interest. So she said, I've got you a gift and you don't have to take it, but this has made a profound difference for myself.
Love it.
I'm like, okay, what is it? She's like, I bought you the Landmark Forum. Sponsored by.
Sponsor, please.
We are not
So-
sponsored yet.
Yeah.
Just to let everybody know, because I know this seems to be a repeat,
Yeah.
we're not sponsored.
We're not
Sponsored
sponsored.
by Landmark.
And I'm not paid by Landmark either because I've done vlogs and videos on it as well. And, you know, and I'm not part of a cult. I'm creating my own, thank you. And I'm like, okay, well, I've heard of this Landmark thing before. What's it about? She's like, it's a 3-day course. You know, you're going to discover stuff about your past, your childhood, your beliefs. She's like, it's made a huge difference for me. I think it would be great for you. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. I
Yeah.
went online. I found a date that worked. And again, at that point, I was so sick of my own shit. I flew to Calgary to do my forum.
Wow, so cool.
And, you know, whether it's Landmark, whether it's Tony Robbins, whether it's a summit, a
yeah,
retreat,
yeah.
whatever it is, maybe it's the book Power of Now,
Yeah.
whatever piece of information or that introduction is to the world of personal development, if you're open to receiving it and you're open to being raw and honest and real with yourself,
Yeah.
you can start to see your life in a new way. And that's what happened for me during Landmark. It's just I got to see my behavior, my way of being, and understand that being bullied and getting picked on and dealing with racism as a young child growing up in Scarborough is what had me say, you know what, screw all of you, I don't need you. Not only am I good enough, I'm going to be the best. And that was the fire that drove me to become an entrepreneur. And you know, many people, you know, especially men, it's those experiences that they have during a young age that creates this trauma that has them develop this belief that they need to be wealthy, they need to be powerful, they need to be admired, to be loved and accepted. And that's what drives them to be so successful. And that works to a point. It worked for me. But that's also what kept me from really accepting love, giving love, receiving love, and being able to just be loved, because I just had this wall up all the time. I was very emotionally unavailable. I was never present. I was always go, 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 go. I always had a million things to do, you know. And it's through personal development that I got to understand what caused me to be that way, and then that's where I knew I had to do the work. So personal development for me, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours about how it's
For
impacted me. However, what it really taught me also was vulnerability, the power of being open and being honest and just being able to be real with people. Because as people looked at my life and admired it through social media, when they heard me say on social media or in one of my vlogs that, you know, I'm not happy and I am lonely and I don't want to be this version of me anymore, people are like, what? And then when they started to listen, they were like, you know what? Yeah, me too. I'm feeling that also. So it's through me sharing my journey that, you know, it created this interest and allowed for others to step forward and share what they were going through as well. And you know, that's what led into me doing what I'm doing now. But that's sort of how personal development really, how I found personal development and how it impacted me. And you know, after Landmark, you're in a community with so many people who are just hungry to learn and want to be the best version of themselves, that I started looking for other events, and I discovered the Archangel Summit. And I think the first Archangel I went to was probably 2016, and I remember listening to like Seth Godin and Gary Vaynerchuk and all these amazing speakers on stage. And I'm just like, who are these people? Like I want to be one of them. I want to get to know this community, because these were people who are on the other side of the journey that I was on. These are people who had gone bankrupt or lost a loved one, or business had failed, marriage had failed, and they had to hit rock bottom, pick themselves back up, and build themselves, better, build themselves stronger, wiser, more abundant. And I wanted to learn from those people. So I started going to the summits, forums, masterminds, retreats, started working with coaches, and it's been this beautiful, I would say it was about 3 to 4 year deep dive into personal development. Really learning about myself in a new way, peeling back the layers and just seeing, oh, more shit there. Okay, look, we're gonna have more shit. Oh, and there's some more. And it doesn't end. And there's a quote I love by Eckhart Tolle that I reference often. We spend half our life trying to become someone, and the other half trying to become who we once were. And it's that journey where I spent 40 years to become that version of Zark. And my real name is Zark, and I used Zark because it was just easier for people to say growing up. It sounded like Mark, so Zark was easy, but my real name is Zark, and as I peel back the layers, I become more and more of him by letting go of those beliefs, letting go of those old stories, and the things that just aren't a part of who I really am. So it was about 3-4 years of deep work, and when I got to a point where it's like, okay, I don't want to be in nightlife and restaurants anymore, is when I made that big leap, which I'm sure we'll talk about as well. But that's sort of
where we've also crossed paths.
So that.
But I want to just take a step back and go into to have the audience understand what are those moments or days could really look like, and I'm sure many of us go through them. What are those moments and days where it becomes so dark and deep that it's like, okay, this is the moment where I can consider to do a change for myself. What did that look like in your days?
Yeah, so for me, it was my identity. I was known as Zark, the King Street club guy, restaurant guy, and when you start to detach from that identity and that person that you've spent decades becoming, you start to question, am I crazy? Like, I like, who am I? I mean, my friends were definitely asking me,
are you crazy?
Am I crazy? Because
what do you mean you got all the models around you?
Because you can, as you change your beliefs, as you change the way you see things, your world begins to change. And there were times where I felt trapped in my work because I knew I didn't want to be there anymore. I knew there was something else for me, but I didn't know what that was. And then, as you start to process these new beliefs, there's this transitional period that can be quite disruptive, because it's the old you that you're comfortable and familiar with, and there's this new version of you, this future self, that you don't know who he or she is yet, but you know that they're there, and you know you want to be there, but stepping into the unknown. And I think for most people, that's what really holds them back, is stepping to the unknown. They want to stay what's familiar, even if they aren't happy with the familiar. They would rather stay in the unfulfilling mediocrity of their life than step into the bold, exciting, scary potential of their future. And it's in that phase, in that period, where you have to make a choice. Like, am I ready to let go of all that's holding me back? Am I ready to step into the unknown? Am I ready to be bold and know that you may not know what that next step is, but you're going to put your foot forward anyways? And there can be a lot of self-doubt. And for me, it was finding my purpose and hearing that my story was really resonating with people, that actually gave me the courage to say, like, you know what, no, I'm ready to walk away. I'm ready to leave my businesses. I'm ready to move to another country, because I know that I'm not here just to sell expensive sushi and vodka.
So it sounds like you've had a phase where you really were disconnecting from that lifestyle, from that persona of who you were, Zark Fatah. So I guess it starts to come up for anybody and for yourself that you start to disconnect and not enjoy the environment that you're in. And then there's, you know, the conscious decision that you made. Okay, let's go explore the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, for me, you know, if in order to have something you've never had, you're going to have to do things you've never done, right? And for me, I started changing the community I was hanging out with. As I mentioned, meeting all these inspiring people at these summits and forums. I started going to British Columbia, Costa Rica. I'm very passionate about photography, so I started traveling more for photography and being in nature, and that was huge for me. And you know, I stopped going to Coachella and Winter Music Conference and all those things I used to do because it wasn't aligned with who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it's in those changes, you know, new content, new podcasts, you know, listening to audiobooks, like just really immersing myself in that. They were all the tools and all the right elements to guide me and support me through this journey. So it was also trusting my intuition and just knowing what felt really good for me, what felt aligned. And you know, I believe we all have the intuitive knowledge and that inner guidance within when we're able to just pause, slow down, take some deep breaths, cut out the distractions, and just ask ourselves the questions that we want the answer to. We always have that available to us. And for me, as I started to slow down and unplug from the busy life, I was able to tune into what does my soul actually want and what really fulfills me. And that's what really helped guide me in the direction, just listening to my own self for once, rather than being at the demand of my work and the role that I was playing.
Yeah,
very, very good point. You know, I think that's a really good takeaway for many, and I'm sure, you know, to encourage other men is really, you know, step away from that power role and like what feels good to me. You know, I'm doing maybe for others and doing for the show, but what feels good for me, and that's where you can start taking your stepping points to, or steps to, like discovering the personal development side, discovering new self.
Absolutely. And you know, it's, as I mentioned before, it's so important to just be humble and remember that we are always students, especially for, you know, men who are very successful, who are, you know, in their 40s and 50s, who what they've done has worked to get them to where they are. For where they want to go, they're going to have to forget or unlearn some of the behaviors and patterns that have helped make them successful, because there are certain skills and qualities and characteristics that are required to be successful in business, but a lot of that is actually counterproductive to being successful as a human and being able to really tap into that joy and fulfillment that we all long for. Because at the end of the day, we're all working hard to make money, to have freedom, to live a great quality of life. But for many successful entrepreneurs, their company, their career has actually compromised their quality of life. And it's such a contradiction, you know, but we build these machines. You know, at one point we had 8 venues and 300 employees and millions in sales. It was impossible to even fathom what it would look like to step aside from that. You know, so often in life, the universe gives us a sign, or the universe disrupts us, you know, and something happens where it's like, oh shit, we have to slow down, like a pandemic happening. You know, it gives you the opportunity to step back and be like, okay,
now what?
And I'm at home with my kids. I don't have to be at the office. I'm with my partner. Do I love my life? Is this what I want to be doing? When my office opens up again, do I want to go back? And that's actually, that's a big part of what kicked off my coaching career, is people just realizing that they don't want to go back to that old version of themselves. Whatever normal was, they don't want that version of normal again in their life. So, anyways.
Yep, so that is the fruits from the pandemic, is that we all had to take a look at our inside, right? Like the inside of the house, not only physically, but, you know, internally. And then we got that time to, hey, do I like myself by myself, my thoughts?
Yeah.
So definitely. So let's take a little jump to where you are today. So I know today you're doing life coaching. Are you geared just towards men, or?
Yeah, so just to give a bit of background to that. So when I knew I didn't want to be in clubs and restaurants anymore, I thought, okay, well, now what the hell am I going to do? I've been doing this for 25 years. Where do I go from here? And I want to share this because I feel many people right now are kind of questioning, I don't love my job. I don't love my company, or I I don't want to be doing this anymore. And you've been doing a job for 2 or 3 decades. Sometimes you think, well, this is all I'm good at. This is all I know.
That's all I know, yeah.
You know, the reason why I feel this is so important for people to hear is that just because you've been known as doing one thing for so long, and that's what your identity is built upon, doesn't mean that you can't start all over again. Wipe the slate clean, let go of what doesn't fulfill you anymore, doesn't serve you anymore, and get educated, get trained, learn something new that you're actually passionate about, and create something fresh. You know, and that's what I had to do. That's a choice I made when I knew that I didn't want to open any more clubs or restaurants. You know, I knew I loved travel, I love personal development, I love good food, warm climates, I love meeting like-minded people. So for me, wellness, travel, and starting up my own retreats just seemed like a no-brainer. And that's why I moved to Costa Rica. So in 2018, I launched the Alive Experience, and over the 2 years, I hosted 9 retreats in Costa Rica, Canada, and in Bali.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. Is anything I do.
I want to hear like a little more about these retreats. Can you just go into that?
So, you know, like any entrepreneur, you know, you go eat in a restaurant and you think how you would run the restaurant your way, what you would do with the menu or the music or whatever. I'd been on a few retreats and different summits and forums, and I loved them all, but I felt there was elements missing. So thinking, how would I do it myself? I created a wellness travel concept based on adventure, wellness, personal development, and connection. So they're limited to 12 people. I rent private villas so that we have a nice, tight, comfortable container. There's yoga, there's breath work, meditation, journaling, integration time on the beach to help people get grounded, get connected, reconnect with nature, and find that stillness within. There's adventure, there's surfing, there's zip lining, there's quad tours, there's cliff diving. You know, based on where we are in the world, we have different adventurous activities to push your limits. Personal development, we talk about purpose, we talk about, you know, values, living in alignment, we talk about integrity, we talk about your obituary. Who do you want to be at the end of your life? We get deep in the personal development, and often in this circle that we have, people are sharing and they're opening up and saying things that they don't even say to their wife or husband or best friend. And that's the beauty of these retreats, is when you get 12 people together who are all showing up with the same intention, and they don't know one another. So I can tell you whatever I want. You don't know me, and if you judge me, whatever. You know, like having a group of people who are showing up
like a different
with
freedom.
that shared passion. It's freedom, because often we don't want to say what's really there to our best friend, sometimes to our wife or to our business partner, because we don't want to be judged. But when you're in a room with 12 strangers who all get their own shit that they're dealing with too, and often your shit is my shit too, just with a twist. You know, we all have the same things that we're dealing with, just in its own form, right? And then the connection element, given that it's 12 people and they're opening up, sharing, crying, laughing, supporting one another, it's really beautiful. So for me, I'm a hospitality guy. I love creating experiences, whether it's you're dining at Blowfish and I've curated the music or the cocktail menu, whether it's, you know, coming to a music festival, whatever. I love creating experiences that allow people to really celebrate and enjoy life. And, you know, in the clubs, we used to help people get drunk and intoxicated to dance their problems away.
Call it as it is.
You know, and often many people come to the clubs. Yeah, many people come to the clubs to numb themselves from the problems they're facing in life, right?
It's so funny. It's like, when you think about that, right? It's like, I need to drink tonight. Like, that's crazy,
just
right?
to blow off steam. But that's because they don't have the tools, because we don't know that there are different ways to let loose. And often you see guys who get drunk and they want to start fighting.
Right.
Why? Because they've got that aggression, they've got that rage inside, and they don't know how to let it out. They have a few vodka or tequilas, and then they want to go, right? So in my previous career, I helped people get intoxicated and party so they can avoid the challenges in life. And what's so ironic is I'm now creating experiences for people to get sober and present and deal with the challenges in their life. And what's really interesting is there's so many parallels between what I used to do and what I do now.
For sure.
I used to book a venue and a DJ. Now I book a villa and a yoga teacher. I don't book a mixologist now. I book a organic,
Like a cow ceremony.
chef. Yeah,
Smoothie.
and a green juice.
rather than raging dance parties, we're
That's
doing
awesome.
ecstatic full moon dance parties. You know,
That's so
so
sick.
it's a lot of shared skills or
new context.
talents, or what I've learned in the nightlife industry and through hospitality, I'm applying to the wellness travel. So I hosted 9 retreats over 2 years, and they were gaining momentum, and the company was building, and I started having more people reach out from all over the world to come on the retreats. And I hosted my last one in January 2020, and I had another one planned in March. This one was actually going to be a men's only trip, March 2020, and then this thing called COVID showed up. So guys started dropping off from the trip, not knowing how serious this was going to be. And by the end of March, I knew I had to postpone it. And by that time I knew, okay, I'm probably not going to be hosting any more retreats this year. And that year I had Kenya set up for a 10-day experience. I was taking groups back to Bali, another trip to Costa Rica, and I was going to do a 3-day mastermind event in Muskoka. So I had a full 2020 lined up. And that all kind of got
Bookshelved.
Yeah, bookshelf, exactly.
Okay.
Now, at that time, I was already doing my professional coach training with CTI to become a certified professional life coach, because I found that many people were coming home from my retreats and they're like, okay, well now what?
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? So my intention was become a coach to support them on their journey of integrating, continuing their growth and development. So the wheels were already in motion to become a professional life coach. And when COVID happened, it's like, okay, now it's time to go all in. So I completed my 6 months of the certification program, finished that, and right away, like as soon as I made the pivot and announced that I was coaching, I had about half a dozen clients sign up in about 3 weeks. And we were actually on that same coachable program together. And it just took off right away because there was a lot of people who had been watching my journey, and they knew that, okay, Zark woke up one day and decided he didn't like his life. And then he took some courses, and now he lives in Costa Rica.
How does this work?
He's onto something. Zark
Don't
is
know
onto
what he
something.
did, but he's figured something out. So people were inspired by my journey, and they wanted to learn from me.
Yeah.
And for me, one of the big reasons why I started hosting retreats is I was well aware that I'm very fortunate that I had the time, the money, and the resources to spend 3 to 4 years on a deep dive learning about myself. Most people don't have that privilege. So I thought, if I could take people away from a week, take them away from their life for a week, bring them to the jungle, and teach them even just a little bit of what I've learned, just to kind of give them that start. The most valuable, powerful lessons and modalities that I was fortunate enough to receive, if I can give them that just to give them a head start, that would be
That's huge.
amazing. That would be very fulfilling for me. And so that was really the intention of why I started the retreats. And now with coaching, it's, I've learned from so many brilliant minds, so many experts in the industry, and everything from, from meditation, breath work, plant medicine, to, shadow work, doing the deep, deep childhood trauma, stuff that gets heavy. I've, through my own personal journey of going through all of that, I'm taking what it is I've learned, what's been powerful for me, and offering that to my clients. So when I started, I was hosting men and women, really coaching them on total life transformation. Like, if you don't like your life, okay, let's see, who do you want to be? What are the limitations that are holding you back? What are the beliefs that no longer serve you? Let's take that apart. Let's develop some new beliefs. Let's get you into an empowered state. How much are you sleeping? What are you eating? Are you working out? How much are you dancing? And a couple of months ago, I decided to pivot and only work with men. Reason being is men aren't as expressive. They're not as emotional as women. And it's important to be emotional. As a man, it's important to cry. It's important to get fucking angry. And rage. It's important to tap into all your emotions because as men, we suppress that.
Yeah.
Many men grow up, don't be a pussy. Don't cry. No one wants to hear your shit. Toughen up. Deal with it. Be a man. So we go through life and we get hurt and we get disappointed, and we get angry,
And you're just shoving it.
and we just
shove
push
it down.
all down and
Yeah.
down and down. And as I mentioned earlier, many successful men are hurt little boys who got picked on,
Yeah.
weren't loved, weren't nurtured. So they grow up, and they're going to prove to the world, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be powerful. Screw all of you. And that shit's toxic. That will eventually create disease, whether in the mind or in the physical. So for me, I made the choice to support men who are, I would say, 35 to 55, entrepreneurs, successful businessmen, CEOs, executives, founders, who are where I was, or at 40 when I realized, okay, I don't love my life
They're
anymore.
at like a crossroads or something.
Where life is okay. They've got the toys, the house, the cars, the wife, the kids, the cottage. They've got all that, and they know something's missing, and they don't know where to start. And they could just keep going doing what they're doing, but what does their future look like if they don't make a change?
Yeah.
So for me, supporting these men is super important because I get them. We speak the same language. I've created 14 companies now. I know what it's like to have hundreds of employees. I know what that stress feels like, and I know what it's like to also bottle it up. Don't talk about it. Don't share it. Nobody wants to hear your shit. Can't be vulnerable. So being able to lead them through the process, hold space for them, share with them what it is that will allow them to really step into their most authentic, fully self-expressed, best version of themselves is what I'm committed to now. That's the work that I'm doing, and it's been amazing because these kinds of men, they don't feel very comfortable just speaking to anyone, you know. And the coaching industry is by far predominantly female, so there's already, I would say, a shortage of male coaches. And the fact that I'm a male coach who's also a serial entrepreneur that can speak their language is powerful because, again, it comes down to trust, especially for these guys. They want to know, like, okay, I can really open up and you get me, you know. So that's kind of led me to where I am now, what I'm doing in the coaching world. And
So cool.
Well, it's definitely needed. It's very relevant, and as you said, you know, we can see that demonstration of what the pandemic has done has had a lot of these men look inside their life and what they've been up to and what they've built and realize, am I happy with this?
Yeah.
So thank you for doing the work that you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to just, you know, give a little bit to our audience, those who are listening in, and how does that look like on your continued day-to-day journey? What personal development, what does that look like for you now? What does your days look like?
Sure. So especially being back in the city, you know, living in Costa Rica 8 months a year, you wake up and you're just kind of, well, I mean, you've been there, you know, it's a vibration.
Yeah.
That's very easy to stay calm and stay grounded. But being back here in the city, you know, I'm seeing friends going out, just the energy of the city is just...
It already pulls you to, you know, go in that hustle.
Yeah, it's a bit chaotic. So my morning routine is super important. My morning practice is very, it's critical, especially when I'm in the city, because it's what allows me to ground, reset, get focused, and just have that clarity to move throughout the day. No matter what happens,
You're centered.
You know, I'm centered, and it's so important. So it's usually, I get up, I have lemon and salt water. I usually fast for the first part of the day. I won't eat for about 3 or 4 hours. I do about 20 or 30 minutes of meditation. I use Insight Timer, put on my mask, my headphones, I drop in. Currently, I'm microdosing psilocybin, so you know, I'll do that a few times a year. So drop a capsule, drop into my meditation, and then, you know, depending on what comes up, I'll journal for a little bit, just kind of get my thoughts out on paper. I'll also read through my journal just to see, okay, where was I a few months ago? How am I feeling? Just to try to capture kind of where am I at right now, and just being present to what's going on in my body, what's going on in my heart, how am I feeling, and why am I feeling that way? And, you know, usually I have about 2 coaching calls a day. I like to spend time near the water. So I'm staying in the beaches. So I take my dog down to water. Even when we're in Costa Rica, my day usually starts with taking my dog down to the beach, bring my journal with me, or just just enjoy the ocean or Lake Ontario. Being close to nature is super important. I think that's something that most people don't make enough time for. However, even just a 20-minute walk in nature without your phone can really help ground and reset you. So that's essential for me for sure. Getting to spend time outdoors, and then I'll hit the gym or go for a run or a bike ride. I like to do something to move my body every day. What else?
This is all very appealing, and that's the dream life I
Yeah.
think anybody wants to step into. But I'd like to know, really, just to the grit of it, from how you were running your life before to how you're running your life today.
Sure.
How does personal development make you successful in your fulfillment today? What does that provide you?
Yeah, so what personal development really allowed me to do was prioritize my day based on what actually really matters to me.
Prioritize yourself, I even hear, right?
Absolutely. And by prioritizing ourselves, that means really getting clear on what are your values, like what's important to you, what's the future version of yourself that you're living into, and what values, what things do you need to really prioritize in your life to become that version of yourself. Because when I look back on my life and when it was going in a direction I didn't want it to, the truth is I was living completely out of alignment with what my future goals were. So personal development has helped me get really, really clear on what do I truly want, both personally and professionally. What are the boundaries that I need to set for myself to stay on course? And developing those systems for accountability, developing the routine and practices to keep you on track so that you're able to continue to move in the right direction. So I would say, personal development really taught me to have the awareness, the clarity, and the discipline to create the life that I really want to live. Because if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a schedule, you're just kind of floating around in life. And you're going to wake up at 40 or 50 one day and be like, how the hell did I get here? So personal development, that's what life is. Life is a personal development journey. Every day we have challenges and choices to make, and based on the choices we make, they either help us evolve in life or they take us back. And personal development is something that obviously more and more people are becoming interested in, because they're realizing that they're just not fulfilled, and they realize that they're just caught up in the grind. They're caught up in
living this inauthentic life.
Exactly. And during this pandemic, I've seen many people thrive. Businesses exploded. They've lost 40 pounds. They're, learning, they're growing, they're expanding. And then I see people who are completely spiraling downwards. And the difference between the two is personal development. There are some people who said, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
The world stopped, and I'm going to use this time to elevate myself. And that's what's most important. So are you choosing to thrive, or are you going to just try to survive? So yeah.
Awesome.
Important question. This is the moment where I ask my important question at
Dun,
the end.
dun, dun.
What was your favorite club?
Wow. What was my favorite club? I would say
I don't know this. I'd like
that's
to
a good
know.
one. Yeah, I would say. Besides my own club.
Well, you
I
can
would say-
pick your own if that's your favorite.
Well, Fluid for me was very special.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
those days.
Fluid
Wednesdays.
Yeah,
Fluid.
Fluid Sundays.
And
That was our
Sundays.
night. That was our
Okay.
night. Yeah, Fluid for me was really special because I actually ended up there on opening night by accident, and just I fell in love with the place, and I started working at Fluid as a go-go dancer.
Oh my God!
Oh, fun fact for you guys.
Stop right now. We need a flashback to put up on the screen.
You know, it's funny. I actually found a VHS tape at my mom's house the
That's
other day
jokes.
that has some footage.
Of you dancing.
You
Jokes.
might be seeing it in a vlog.
Oh,
just saying. So Fluid was really
We'll
special.
tag along that video.
Fluid was really special because, you know, I was a dancer, then I was a bartender, and then I was a promoter. And it really was a venue that launched my career into
Cool.
nightlife. And out of all of my venues, if I had to choose one, I would say Century Room for sure.
Yeah.
That was a place that just,
I think
Yeah.
Century Room is the longest club in Toronto that was kept around.
government,
Oh, government.
yeah, I think was around almost 18 years or something.
wow.
A Century Room,
crazy.
we had Century Room for nine years.
But that was a great.
Yeah,
run.
but we had 5 nights a week, you know,
Yeah.
and it was just busy, and it was, it was a special place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think a
fun.
lot of us kind of came up together in Century Room, you know, during
there's
that
a lot
time.
of us that were raised
Definitely.
in that club.
Yeah,
Raised.
yeah,
Legit.
yeah,
Funny.
If you knew the nightlife scene back in the day on Richmond Street,
That's
then
jokes.
yeah.
yeah.
Very cool.
But it started there, and then we went to Century Room as the first pivot to like King Street evolving.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
we had
yeah, yeah.
grown up and moved past Richmond, you know, we went across Spadina, and I was like, wow.
Wow, like new
Yeah,
neighborhood.
Yeah.
All right, so Zark, please tell us, like, what would be 3 takeaways that you would share with anybody in regards to taking on personal development?
Yes. So,
I know there's so many.
yeah, I would say, you know, one of the most important things is take time to be by yourself. Take time to get off your phone. Take a journal with you. Go for a walk in nature. And just sit down and let the shit come up. And studies have shown that many people would rather be tortured for 15 minutes than sit alone for 15 minutes. Because, again, both men and women, we do this. We suppress. We push stuff down. We don't want to feel. And when we're alone without our phone and we're in nature and we allow ourselves to just be still, yeah, things are going to come up and you're going to feel things, and it's necessary, because until you can really feel it, you can't heal it. And you're just going to carry those experiences, those emotions, those traumas with you. And like I said, personal development is a roller coaster. Stuff is going to come up, and that stuff that comes up is what there is to work on.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that pain, the challenge, the frustration, whatever emotions may come up, is your joy, your happiness, your freedom. So make time to be by yourself, spend time in nature, allow yourself to go within. Meditation, you know, meditation is so key, and it is hard. It's challenging. That's why it's called a practice. There's no right or wrong way to meditate. What's essential, what's important, is that you at least take 5 to 10 minutes, sit down, breathe. Deep belly breathing. Breathe into your belly. Most of us are like in our chest, you know, but breathe into your belly and just allow yourself to slow down and be present, especially in the mornings, before you turn off your phone, before you turn on your phone, before the emails start coming in. Spend 5 to 10 minutes just to meditate. Give yourself that time. So definitely develop a morning practice, whatever your ritual is, super important. And there's so much amazing content out there. You know, there's so many amazing programs online. You know, find a coach, find a speaker, an author that you resonate with, and just dive deep rather than listening to Spotify or watching Netflix. You know, watch that course online. Going for a walk in nature, listen to that podcast or that audiobook. You know, that is really a big part of what's helped me. And there is no shortage of amazing content out there. So really, you have no excuse not to
tune in.
To not invest your time and energy into personal development, because there's more content available now than ever before.
So true.
And it's super affordable. You know, there's so many amazing programs out there that are much cheaper than a fancy dinner on King Street. You know, so spend time alone, be in nature, meditate, and educate yourself. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
So valuable.
Very key. And I think you and I both take those on
Oh,
every
yeah,
day
for
as
sure.
well. But you're right, it's so affordable, so accessible. If you have a Spotify subscription, you can get YouTube clips free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Free. You can do it free.
One more thing I'd add to it: community.
Yeah.
Find like-minded people.
Yeah.
Find like-minded people who are on the same journey, because as you start to grow and evolve, your vibration shifts. And some of the people that have been in your life for decades, may not be on the same frequency, and that's okay. And that can be one of the very hard, disruptive parts about this journey is when you don't vibe with your friends anymore. And that's why finding community who are like-minded, who are on the same frequency, who get it, is so, so important.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the people who inspire you, hold and support you as you go along this roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And you know, I use the word roller coaster, I talk about fear and trauma and all that. And I want to just emphasize that it's the most beautiful, rewarding, fulfilling journey you'll ever be on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be hard, and nothing great comes without struggle.
Yeah.
You know, all growth can be painful at times.
Yeah, I was just sharing about this yesterday. It's like, you know, you don't see the whole part of the journey, right? But like the ups and downs, they're necessary. Like there's nothing comes out of just like this slow and steady, amazing ride, right? It's like
Absolutely, because in the downs is when you actually learn the most.
the lessons are huge.
Yeah,
right?
your perspective down looking up is much greater than, because when you're at the top and everything's going well, everything's fine. I'm just going to keep going. Nobody stops to say, okay, wait a minute, why is everything going so good right now? It's when we're in the downs, it's when we're having those challenges that we have to go within and question ourselves, like, what is really going on here?
Yeah.
You know, so you're right, absolutely essential.
Awesome.
In those downs is when the breakthroughs happen.
Oh yeah.
And in the breakthroughs is when there's relief, right? There's new light and like freedom, and your spirit just starts to become alive.
Absolutely. Alive. I like that. Like
No pun intended, but actually yes.
Yeah. Which is why I chose the name, because that's what we all want. We don't want to just live our life. We want to be alive.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Zark, for being with us.
My pleasure.
Zark.
Thanks for having me.
So happy to hear your whole journey, and
you.
very, very inspiring.
Thank you.
So we'll continue to share with everybody how they can reach you
Yes.
on the amazing journey that you continue to seek out and transform with others. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Wow, what an awesome conversation that was with Zark. So deep.
So deep. It's so inspiring.
Yeah, you know what I really took away from one of his personal development takeaways was like that spending time alone. Like I actually struggle with that sometimes, you know, and even his insight on like being in nature alone and meditating and just things like that is like taking that on is like a gift to yourself.
It takes something, yeah. I'll agree with you. Yeah. There's so much power with spending time alone. So I think it's definitely a practice everybody should take on for themselves. Yeah. I love also that he included community. Community is so important when you start to step into your authentic life and you start to expand yourself, because then you need to have those conversations where there's other people who are in that as well. Yeah. So community is so important.
That vibe tribe.
That vibe tribe.
Yes. All right.
Thank you for tuning in again.
Thanks again. See you soon.
Bye.
You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got